I wanted to do my own explanation on what happens to steam after it goes through a pressure reducing valve because I've seen a few forums online with incorrect information, and even the Google AI answer gave an incorrect answer when I Googled it. So here's my explanation. When you have saturated steam that goes through a pressure reducing valve, you drop the pressure, obviously, as the name implies, on the valve, and it's an adiabatic or an isenthalpic process. So the enthalpy, which we have here on the upstream side of the valve, is going to stay the same. So if I get rid of the color here, you see that the enthalpy stays the same. And now if I look at my steam properties as a function of my new pressure, which is lower on the downstream side, and the same enthalpy, what's going to happen to my temperature? If you Google it in the wrong forum, it's going to tell you that your temperature increases, but in reality, your temperature would decrease, and that makes sense. As the pressure drops, the temperature is going to drop with it. Um, Entropy, it's not really an intuitive value, but the entropy goes up. There's more disorder on the upstream side or on the downstream side of the valve. And then your superheat, your degrees of superheat, it's a saturated vapor on the upstream side. Then as you quickly drop the pressure of that saturated steam, it's going to become a superheated vapor. And so depending on what the pressure drops to, it's going to have some amount of superheat. So if I change that from, I've got it going from 150 down to 50 psi G. So if I make this 100 instead of 50, my degrees of superheat will go from 31 degrees to 10 degrees. So the more you drop the pressure, the more it's going to be superheated in theory. Um, Now, in reality, what happens when you go across a PRV is this is somewhat true. In reality, in a steam pipe, you're always going to have a little bit of condensation or liquid droplets. And what happens when you go across that PRV is that your superheated steam is going to vaporize that, and that vaporized condensation is going to end up making this superheat lower, and it's going to be closer to saturation conditions than this calculation implies. But generally, when you have a pressure reducing valve for steam, you're going to get a lower temperature and superheated steam. So I hope that helps. Hopefully, that clears up some conflicting information you find online.